Hello and welcome back to the Championship Lowdown. I'm Elliott. This is the preview for what is the third week of games, only the second week we're doing this podcast. I'm joined by Ollie, who famously is a div, and a new one in James. So introduce yourself, boys.
Yeah, I'm still a div, still got the tack. I'm very bright for some reason today, and I can't quite figure out why, but we'll blag this week's and then we'll try and get it sorted for next week.
And James?
Yeah, really looking forward to this. Really good to be here. I'm a Borough fan, if you couldn't tell by the Teesside accent, for my sins. So, yeah, really looking forward to talking about the Borough tonight and getting into these Championship games this week. Some good games, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, so I guess without any further ado, we'll get on to what is our pick for the most important game. Maybe not the most important, but the most interesting game of the week, which would be Southampton versus Stoke. So this one has theoretically really big implications at the top end of the table. We've got one team who are currently in the top end of the table and one who pretty much all of us assume are going to be at the top end of the table. What thoughts have you got on these ones, guys?
Yeah, so we've got a battle of unbeaten teams, haven't we? Yeah, I mean, no one really suspected that of Stoke at the start of the season, I would have thought, but we've started off pretty well. I mean, we were discussing, obviously, before we started recording about do we know how good Stoke are going to be yet? They've played Derby and they've played Sheffield Wednesday. All right, they've got the wins and you can only beat what's in front of you, but they seem to be playing pretty well under Robbins, don't they? Look a bit like a machine. They're just sort of rolling with it. And they ground them results out. I mean, I know that they played Sheffield Wednesday off the park last week, but I think a lot of teams are going to do that this season, to be fair. Obviously, Southampton have started a little bit indifferent, but they've probably had a more difficult. Someone know probably about it. They've definitely had the more difficult start in obviously Ipswich last week. Obviously picking up the first point. The point away from home there. Decent result. Obviously coming from behind against Wrexham, first game of the season. So, they've probably had a difficult start, really, but they're going to be there or thereabouts, Southampton, aren't they? My sort of view on this week, I think Stoke might come a little bit unstuck at St Mary's this weekend, to be fair. I think they're going to come up against a team who've got some real quality, and it's only going to be a matter of time before Southampton click, and I think in front of their home fans down there, I think they'll grind out the win this weekend.
Yeah, I think with Southampton, I think you've got to take into effect the will still. I mean, he's such a demanding young manager, and I think his tactics are very complex. And I can imagine Southampton squad taking some amount of time to get used to that, as with any new manager coming in, but particularly a very tactical manager like Still. Obviously, they've not had the success they probably would have wanted in the transfer market yet. But as you say, Ollie, St Mary's, one of the tougher places to go in the Championship when Southampton are in the Championship. But you know what you're going to get with Mark Robbins, again, very tactically now. It's very clever. He'll definitely have a game plan to go there and beat them. And I've been really impressed with Stoke defensively as well so far this season. Again, they have played Sheffield Wednesday and Derby respectively, but only conceded one goal in the league so far. So you would back them to go there and be defensively solid and try and hit them on the counter. So I think it'll be a really, really tight game. Probably a one goal either way. So no, it should be an interesting game. That.
Yeah, I think if Stoke were at home, I'd be a lot more buoyant on their chances here. I think while they are unbeaten, they've won 2 games in a row. As you say, the caliber of those wins, I think nearly everyone's going to beat Sheffield Wednesday this season. Like they're just going to struggle. They do not have the depth in their squad. They just don't have enough players. I think everyone's going to beat them, and I don't take too much out of the fact that they, smashed Sheffield Wednesday. Southampton are a different beast, as you say. Like Will Still is the opposite of what Sheffield Wednesday will be. He will be intense. Like he will, and Southampton have serious depth. You're not going to get to 60 minutes. You get to 60 minutes against Sheffield Wednesday, they're going to taper off because they just have kids on the bench. You get to 60 minutes against Southampton, they're going to bring Premier League players off the bench. It's a different beast. And in Southampton as well, that is a tough ask for Stoke. Yes, they've had a good start, but this is, I think, where that sort of winning streak comes to an end. That would be, I'd be very surprised if Stoke come away from St Mary's with a win.
Yeah, I agree.
I think if we're giving a quick prediction, I think this will be a comfortable sort of 2-0 win for Southampton. Personally, not sure where you guys are heading.
Yeah, I've gone 2-1. I think Stoke will score. I think they might get an early goal, and I think Southampton might have to come from behind again. But I think the quality will show in the end.
Yeah, I've gone 2-1 Southampton as well. I think it'll be a tight game, 1 goal either way. But I think Southampton's firepower will see them through.
Yep, I think all sort of in agreement with a Southampton win there, which I think might be a bit of a theme this season. We'll move on to a game which is a little bit more in the air, which we considered having this one as the headline game. James, obviously, we want your expertise on this because this is Norwich versus Middlesbrough. Obviously, Middlesbrough started very well. Norwich sort of more of a different start, but we both were high. Both me and Ollie were high on Norwich coming into the season, less high on Borough. But as you told me just before we went live, we've underrated Middlesbrough quite highly.
Yeah. I think, again, similar to St Mary's, I think Carrow Road, you put it in that bracket of one of the tougher places to go in the Championship. But in the past few years, I don't think we've lost there in the kind of last 3 or 4 trips we've been. Obviously, we threw the game away there last time, being 3-0 up and then drawing 3-3. But it is a notoriously tough place to go. Obviously, Liam Manning's still figuring it out there as well. They've always got good players at this level. Norwich, they always seem to have a talented group of players. And 2 teams that, again, whilst they're in a Championship, will always kind of have those playoff expectations as a minimum. So it is a really tough place to go. I can see it being a 0-0. Honestly, I think we'll probably balance each other out quite nicely. Obviously, we've yet to concede a goal in the Championship this season. 2 clean sheets from 2 against 2 decent teams in Millwall and Swansea. So we definitely look a lot more defensively solid and a lot more capable of going to places like Carrow Road and shutting teams out there. And I think we'll probably not take the 1 or 2 chances we might get. Again, notorious place to go in terms of getting chances and needing to take those chances when you get them. It'll probably be a stalemate. I can see it being a 0-0, 1-1. I don't see it being high scoring.
It's an interesting one, that I've just checked your last five results, Middlesbrough and Norwich, and apart from the last game, which was 0-0, there's been some right goals in that fixture. There's been a lot of goals in that fixture. We've got 3 3s, 2 1s, 1 2, and then a 5-1 to Middlesbrough. I've got goals in this, but not a lot of goals. I've gone for a Middlesbrough to carry on their decent start. I've gone for them to get a 2-1 win. I just think they look really sharp and really disciplined this season. What I've seen from them so far, they look quick. They're playing some decent football. They're knocking it about between them pretty well. They're defensively sound at the moment. And Norwich, I do think the quality, they've got quality. There's no doubt in that. Like Elliott said at the start of the season, we predicted them, both Elliott and I predicted them to be quite high, 4th or 5th, I think, something like that. And I think it's a big game. I think it's a big game for Norwich, and I think they've got to start this game pretty well. But yeah, I don't know. I've just got a feeling Borough are just going to just keep going, keep that good start going.
The way I see it is, if Borough are in control of this game, it will be a 0-0. Like, Borough are, I say, probably the most defensively sound so far. I mean, obviously 2 games or whatever, but extremely defensively sound so far. As Norwich have been pretty porous defensively, but pretty explosive going forward as well. Like, if Norwich take charge of this game, there'll be goals at both ends. If Borough take charge, there won't be many goals at all. With Norwich at home, I can see them really putting some blood and thunder into this and getting a couple goals. And really, we because Borough haven't conceded yet, we haven't seen them from behind. And if Norwich get like an early goal, which I can see them really going ham to score in that first half. And as you say, this is a big game for them in the sense, like, this is a potential playoff promotion rival. But they're at home and they get to set the tempo. I think they're going to go. I mean, by the looks of things, that's the way Manning plays anyway. Like, they're going to press you. They're going to play. They're going to be intense. They're going to be aggressive. So I think there could be goals in this, and we'll see how Borough look chasing a game rather than being in it the whole time. Because so far we've seen them defend extremely well. We'll see how they look when they actually have to go and change the game themselves. But I think I foresee a narrow Norwich win, a 2-1, I think. Just the power of being at home, I find hard to argue against in this case.
I've gone 2-1 the other way for Middlesbrough to keep their win streak going.
I've gone 0-0. I can see it being the first board draw of the season. I hope I'm wrong, but I can see it being that way.
Total disagreement there then.
Yeah, we've all gone completely different ways with that one. But speaking of teams who are doing a lot better than we expected, let's go on to your beloved Hull City. They played Blackburn at home this weekend, which on paper is a toss-up. As in, like, that's a dolly. That's a game you earmark as like, look, we should win this game. We need to win this game. But with the start you've had, maybe it's not quite as important to win this game. But if you're going to have a good season, maybe this is one you look at as like, this is a must-win to get us up the table nice and early.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, earmarking them first two opening fixtures for us, the home ones, the Oxford and the Blackburn, you've got to be targeting wins against those teams. And to be fair, I've been really, really impressed with how we've started the season. I mean, we just go forward with such pace and we just look dangerous all the time, whether it's down the right or the left. And obviously, we might even have Balumi back this weekend. Which will be a massive plus, and he's coming back quite early by the sounds of it. But if that's the case, I maybe wouldn't rush him because we've got players who are playing pretty well in those positions at the moment. Our wing backs are pushing forward with Cody Drama. He's been really good, and Ryan Giles on the other side, he's transformed. He's like a man possessed. He's been fantastic so far this season, and I thought Lundstrom had a great game as well against Oxford last weekend. I thought he just pulled all the strings and just really took charge of the game. I mean, we do look a little bit susceptible at the back still, and I think that's not going to change until we can maybe bring in another defender or two. We do look a little bit susceptible against the set piece. Obviously, Oxford scored 2 goals from set pieces last week, so Blackburn will be targeting that. I just think with the pace that we've got going forward down those flanks to feed McBurney, who has started brilliantly again. And obviously Geldart just playing off the back of him as well. It's we look pretty good. I think Blackburn, obviously, the start of the season not very well. They've got 0 points. They don't look like winning games, even when they're in a game. They threw it away last week against your boys. They need to turn it around pretty quickly before it gets really out of hand for them. But I just think with the confidence and the momentum we've got, it's going to be a big crowd at the MKM. I think we'll score some goals again. I think I fancy us to win 3-1.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting game again. I think I've been really disappointed with Blackburn so far this season. Obviously, with the way they ended the season under Ishmael, you thought they'd turned a corner a little bit. But again, they've not had a good transfer window, particularly. There's a lot going on off the scenes there in terms of, it doesn't seem like there's a particularly happy dressing room at the minute at Blackburn. Obviously, Hull have, as Ollie's fully aware, we're all aware, have had their off the field issues this summer as well. But in terms of when you watch them play, it certainly looks like a dressing room that is certainly united and pulling in the same direction. As you've said, Ryan Giles, players like that are seemingly coming out of nowhere and finding form again and finding their feet again. And they look like a pretty well coached team. I mean, Coventry away, really tough place to go. Solid clean sheet there. You do the job against Oxford in a really good game. So again, you're at home again. Blackburn not feeling good at the moment. I think you've got to take advantage of that, or at least try to take advantage of that. And I can see Hull coming out 2-1. I think probably 2-1, 1-0, 2-1.
Yeah, what I will say is obviously Ollie's talked about the pace that Hull have down the flanks. I'm not sure how much that pace is going to matter because I think Blackburn are probably going to try and sit in as much as they can.
Yeah.
Having said that, they did lose the game in the 98th minute last week from their own corner where they got counter-attacked at speed. Which, as you say, you think Blackburn are going to try and, bully you from set pieces. They're going to need some better delivery than that. One of the worst corners I've ever seen. 98th minute, they got everyone forwards and didn't beat the short man. And I mean that in the sense of him not being very tall and the fact that he was basically marking a short corner and he headed it clear. Blackburn just look poor so far this season. I know they've got, they say, problems behind the scenes. A lot of their players leaving. Their captain also trying to leave, I believe. I'm not sure if that's gone through yet. I'm worried for Blackburn. I was worried for Blackburn before the season started. They've done nothing to change that. Whereas Hull, I think, have been marginally, if not significantly better than we thought so far. At home as well. Again, I keep bringing that up, but I mean, it's hard to look past a pretty comfortable 2-3-0 Hull win for me personally. That's
the one thing I will
say
about the home thing is that was our Achilles heel last season. We just could not buy a win at the MKM Stadium. So I'm hoping, obviously, we've already had our first home game. We've got that monkey off the back straight away. So hopefully we can turn it into a bit of a fortress and push on there this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty key part of basically whatever you want to do. I mean, in the case of Hull, we thought it might be surviving relegation. Maybe we're looking more at a mid-table finish so far this season. But we'll find out how that one goes. I mean, that's a game you look at Hull and you think they're going to win. Let's move to one that maybe we can foresee an away win, because at the moment I think I've been pretty high on all the home teams. This one we got Charlton versus Leicester, which is one I pushed for as one of the big games, because I think this one's really interesting. Charlton have started, as I thought they would, very difficult to beat, a very good team, but this is Leicester, who we know have quality and can hurt you. Let's find out if Charlton can still hold the line against a team with some quality. What do you reckon?
Charlton have surprised me. I sort of had differing opinions to you, didn't I? But obviously you saw them a little bit more than I did last season. I thought they might struggle back in the Championship, and I even said that it might be a season too soon for them coming back up. I think I said, but I'm eating my words. They've been good. They've looked. They're playing well. They've got 4 points from the first two games. They don't look out of place in the Championship at all. Defensively, they look really good. You know, a clean sheet against that strong Bristol City side. Well, we're different opinions on the Bristol City thing, but we'll come into that. They look solid at the back, don't they, Charlton? But this is definitely the biggest test, isn't it? You know, Leicester. Cifuentes has got a point to prove here, hasn't he? They need to start putting some results together, and it's going to be I think it'll be a real fascinating game. This one, it's going to be, disciplined defensive unit in Charlton against a team who have got so much quality in depth. I think it's a tough one to call. Really is a tough one to call. But I don't even know where to go with it. I think Charlton might take a point from them. I think Charlton might take a point off Leicester this weekend. But again, it's one of them Championship games where any result doesn't surprise you in this one. But yeah. I just think Charlton, they look too hard to break down. And I think Leicester will struggle to do that this weekend. Yeah,
it's going to be a really, really interesting game, this one. Again, I think Charlton, what they've done pretty well this summer is, I know a lot of people are saying that they've signed a lot of League One players that are really good at League One, but are they going to be good enough to make a step up at Championship level? But what they have done by doing that is signed a lot of players who are very familiar with the EFL and how it works and what it takes to, be playing games in the EFL and have that experience. So I think they're a well coached team. I think you would like to think they would make the Valley a bit of a fortress this season. If they're going to stay up, they're going to have to. And so far it looks like they are doing that. So I do worry though that I think, again, similar to a few other games this week, where I do feel like the quality of Leicester will overpower a little bit, and I think this will be the first time that Charlton takes defeat at home this season. But it's not going to be an easy game for Leicester. They're not going to come in and steamroll them. I think they're too well coached for that, and I think they've got too many proven EFL campaigners in their team to allow that to happen. But I can see Leicester just maybe in the second half, 0-0 at half time, but eventually they keep huffing and puffing and eventually break them down and maybe get 1 or 2 goals in the second half.
Yeah, I think this is the sort of game where if Leicester are serious contenders for those sort of top 4 spots, and obviously they got the central points deduction, whatever. If they're looking to be a potential contender for those sort of spots, they sort of need to be. These are the sort of games that you could turn these into wins. You're a real title contender. You're sort of, if you're Southampton, we're going to Charlton. You get 3 points there. You're like, okay, we're a serious contender here. this is not an easy place to get a win at all. These are the games where you really earn your title, you earn your playoff spot. Because I do not think this will be easy at all. As you both alluded to, this Charlton are a difficult team to beat. I mean, they were one of very few teams who beat us last season. We went to the Valley and they really did a number on us. We a record-breaking team in League One. Well, it doesn't matter. Like, we did not get a sniff against them. They scored from a long throw. Fair play. Like, they did us on a set piece. They kept us out. They really did a number on us. And that's part of the reason I had them coming in so highly, was I knew Nathan Jones would be able to do that to the better teams in the Championship. And I think he will have a game plan. And I'm not sure Cifuentes is ready for what Charlton are going to do. I think he's a bit more of an ideologue who will want to do what he wants to do. Whereas Jones, I think, will come in and say, this is what Leicester are going to do. We're going to spoil the party. I'm going to go Charlton 1-0. I think they're just difficult. They're really difficult to play against. And I'm not sure Leicester yet are ready for a game this hard in this Championship season. This is, I honestly think Charlton away is one of the hardest games for a title chasing team. Like, it's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be horrible.
I think it's just summed up there in our predictions, hasn't it? Saying about how so much of a championship game this feels like, and the result could go anywhere. We've all gone different again, so it'll be an interesting one to see what that result turns out as.
Yeah, Charlton, one of only 2 teams not to concede so far this season. They've also only scored once. We'll move on to my beloved Birmingham against Oxford at home. Another one of those that we talked about earlier. Like, you look at these games and you think, right, Oxford at home, that's got to be a win. But we traditionally have struggled against Gary Rowett teams. And this will be an interesting one, I think, for us. Let's see what you guys think before I go too deep into convincing myself one way or the other.
Well, having seen Oxford play last week, I think I probably have their game plan down. They're going to try and hit you with set pieces. You alluded to long throws earlier about what Charlton did to you last season. Oxford have got the long throw as well. They'll try and score from those scrappy set plays. I mean, don't get me wrong, a couple of goals scored last week, decent finishes, but they came from set plays and a long throw, I believe. But they're off the back of 2 defeats now against Portsmouth and Hull City. They're two games they'll have pinpointed at the start of the season, so have tried to pick points off, and they've come away with 0 so far. So they're going to be struggling, and they're going to be desperate for points. I think they're going to go there and they might try and play a little bit differently, but I think if they go there and play differently, they're going to get played off the park. I see nothing again but a Birmingham win. Like I said last week, I think Birmingham are too strong. They're too much pace. I think Oxford will try and dig in, like I say, get a result, but I think Birmingham will win fairly comfortably. I've gone 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult for me. I've got PTSD from the last sort of 10 years to ever sort of go, oh, yeah, no, I'm expecting Blues to win, because it hasn't been like that. But this is a different Birmingham City. This is a different Blues. And this is a game I do expect us to win, but I'm also under no illusions that this is going to be a grindy game. Like, as you say, Oxford will come and spoil. They will play for set pieces. They will play for counters. It will be typical Rowett. And we've done it to many a good team when he was in charge of us. We spoiled many a game and came away with points we did not, like, we earned and we deserved, but we were not expected to get. And I'm a little worried. Everything points to us winning this game, and that's when I'm least convinced we're going to win a game. As you say, we've started well. We've got quality throughout the pitch. We're fast, we're strong, we're big. We're just a good team, but the Championship doesn't care about that. You get put in the blender and you get chewed up. James, I think you're back with us. What are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, Oxford again, a bit like Charlton. They're just a lot of people have Oxford as relegation candidates and or relegation favourites, and I think they will be down there. But I don't see them going down this year. I think I look at what they've done in attack, and they've added Lancashire. They've just got Prelec in from Cagliari or somewhere on loan. I think he was in Serie A last season with Cagliari. So he looks like a decent striker potentially for Oxford to add. Obviously, you've still got Mark Harris, Goodrum on the wing. They've been able to keep. So I do like their attacking options going forward. And defensively, they do have defenders that again have been in the EFL. They know what they're doing. Hellick, Spencer. They're a really tough team to play. So obviously, Gary Rowett, again, a manager that's well versed at this level, knows how to set a side up to go away to a tough place and get a result. But I think you are right, Elliot. I do think Birmingham, with the firepower that they've got, being at St Andrews again, they're going to make that fortress this season, as they have done since this new American era. So I really do think it will be tough for Oxford to go there. But I think in the reverse fixture, and I think in other fixtures this season, I think Oxford will surprise people. I think they're good enough to get results out of teams this year. But I think Birmingham will edge it 2-0.
I was thinking 1-0 with a penalty. It's just been our go-to is winning with a penalty, as people are very quick to point out. Yeah, that's how I see it going. We'll knock on the door for 85 minutes and we'll get a dodgy handball penalty or something and win it. Yeah, let's go on to our next game, which I have down as Derby versus Bristol. Now, as Ollie alluded to the fact that we have differing opinions on Bristol, but I think we all have the same opinion on Derby so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, they're in a bit of a hole, aren't they? You know, they've started the season 2 games in, they've 2 losses, 8 goals conceded. You can't start a season much worse than that, to be fair. They'll need to find some solidity from somewhere. But Bristol City have shown that they can score goals. You know, they did it to Sheffield United. What you can say about that at the moment, I'm not sure, because we don't know what sort of state that Sheffield United are in, as we've alluded to, and we'll speak about again, I'm sure. But they just simply have to tighten up, Derby, and if they don't, they're going to get beat again. Bristol City surprised everybody, I think, with that 4-1 win, but then obviously drawing last week with Charlton, and we've already discussed how difficult it's had to be. It's where does this one go? The Derby need to get a result, but I genuinely can't see them getting one. I think Bristol City they scrape a win. I think Bristol City come away with a point again this weekend.
And James, he is here. We're all right, James.
Yeah, I think again, tough game to call. I think being at home, if it was at Ashton Gate, I think it would be a lot of an easier game for Bristol City. But again, Pride Park, tough place to go. I guess with Bristol City, in terms of they've been able to keep hold of a lot of their good players. I didn't think the likes of Mehi and Jason Knight, Max Bird, Scott Twine, I could have foreseen a lot of those players leaving this summer and being poached by clubs, especially coming down from the Premier League, the likes of Ipswich, Southampton. I would have foreseen the likes of a Bird or a Jason Knight potentially being poached away from them. They haven't been. I'll be the first to admit I wasn't the most convinced about Gerhard Struber going there. I didn't. I thought they could have maybe got better than that, but he seems to be getting a tune out of this squad so far. And as we've alluded to at this moment in time, Derby, they're attacking wise, they look good. They're scoring goals. I mean, 3 goals against Coventry and they still lose. I think that says it all. So I think, yeah, they really do need to tighten up at the back, and if they don't do that, they're going to struggle this year. But yeah, tight game. I think it'll probably be high scoring with the way Derby's defence are and the way their attack is, and similar to Bristol City, good attacking team as well. I think I'll go for a 2-2.
Yes, so I'm not that convinced that Bristol City, I should say, are great. I mean, they've started well. They got a big result, obviously, eye-catching result on day one, but I'm just not convinced. Like you see the goals they scored. I think there was a couple of defensive errors, and a wonderful free kick. And it's like, okay, that's lovely, but it's not like something. It's not like you've cut them open and created all these chances. I think they were handed a couple, and one was a beautiful free kick. And that's not to take anything away from Bristol. I think they'll be solidly mid-table. I'm just not convinced they're going to be up here at the end of the season. I mean, it's only 2 games, so I could be wildly wrong, and who knows. That said, Derby have been poor. If I'm going to be, I'm not going to use a word I'm not allowed to use on here, but they have been poor. A big problem they've had has been obviously that defense, but again, defensive errors. I mean, they signed Dion Sanderson from us, and those Blues fans saying watch out, he's not good. He struggled with us, and I thought that was harsh at the time. He wasn't that bad for us, but he has been terrible for Derby. When he's played, goals have just gone in around him, and he's not done a whole lot to stop them. They've probably been the team we've been almost most disappointed by, in the sense that we kind of expected Derby to be mid-table or pushing up the league this season with Eustace, but this defense has to be sorted, and it has to be sorted fast, because they can't defend like this and expect to go anywhere other than 23rd. It's very early on, and it's kind of too early to say they need a result, but they really want one here. I mean, you always want one, but this is one you're if they lose this, it's what are we doing?
Yeah, they're in trouble.
Yeah. This is a problem, especially at home, as we talked about before. I think this could be a tense 1-1 draw. I think Derby, they have to do something. Are they going to change? They're going to have to be more solid than they've been. I can't see them playing the same way. So I think they're going to change things up and maybe try and sneak a result, maybe succeed in sneaking a result. But yeah, that one is a team that needs a result fast and needs a change. The more I talk about Derby, the more sad I'll get. So we'll move on to Preston versus Ipswich, which actually Ollie pointed out to me. I was sort of, when we were going through this, I was like, oh, Preston Ipswich. He was like, no, that's an important game. Preston have started really well against Ipswich, who we expect to be up there, but haven't started brilliantly. They've been fine, but they don't look like title contenders just yet.
No, I think that you look at the fixtures Ipswich have had, though. They've had a couple of tough ones, haven't they? I mean, to go away to St Andrews and steal a point, ultimately, in my opinion. I know by the letter of the law, it probably was a penalty there, but they weren't very good.
Let's not get into it. We're already 34 minutes in. We'll be here all day.
And tough start for them. Obviously, Southampton as well, another draw there. So I think this is probably the game that at the start of the season they'll probably be marked this as a comfortable win. But I think given how well Preston have started, obviously getting that result against Leicester last week, that was a real turn up, wasn't it? I mean, there's proper head turning result, that one. But I just think Ipswich's quality is going to come through at some point, and I think it might be this weekend. I think that Ipswich will go there. They'll put on a bit of quality and they'll get the result this weekend. I think we'll probably see the real Ipswich, if you like.
James?
Yeah, I think that's a good point there, Ollie. I think when you look at someone like Sheffield United, the way they've started this season, it's not that drastic. I mean, you look at the table and people are saying Ipswich, they've not won a game yet. They're down in 17th, 2 draws, and people are maybe starting to panic a little bit, going, what? Because I think you read a lot of things, and a lot of people have got Ipswich as winning the league this season. So seeing them start the season with 2 draws, and are we overselling how good they are? But I think come May, I think you might look at these 2 results, 1-1 against Birmingham and 1-1 against Southampton, as actually being really solid results, really good results. To not lose against those 2 sides. Every fan of every team wants to get off to a good start, but being handed Birmingham and Southampton as your first 2 games, to have not lost either of those, I think is probably more of a positive than it is a negative. And I do think this kind of game feels like Preston away. Preston will be tough again. They'll dig in. I think it'll probably be a 1-0, 2-0. I don't think it's going to be anything, a real eye-catching scoreline. But I think Ipswich will grind out their first win, get that monkey off the back. And then I think you're right. I think we'll start to see the real Ipswich after 2 really tough opening results.
I think this is another really, really tough game for Ipswich. Actually, Preston, as you both stated, started really well. I think both of you are almost too eager to call this an Ipswich win. I think Preston, very, very impressive in their opening 2 games. Looked like a much better team than any of us predicted. But then again, I was going to say this will be the real test, but they've played Leicester, who we all thought were one of the best teams in the division, and they've beat them handily. It wasn't like a stolen win either. Like they've looked like the better team. I kind of see another draw here. I think Ipswich might be on 3 points after 3 games because this is a really, really difficult game, and I think I can see Preston scoring, and I don't see them conceding 2 or 3. And if they do, then I'll be more impressed. I'll look at Ipswich and go, okay, no, the Ipswich are finally here. I think this is a case of it. It's another one like I mentioned before about going to Charlton away. It's like if you win the game like this, these are the games that win you titles. So if Ipswich win this, then I'll be like, yeah, okay, they're contenders for top 2, definitely, like locked in, which I think they are anyway. But this is a game that sort of confirms that, I suppose. I foresee a 1-1 personally. I think
I've gone 2-0 Ipswich, but I think I might. I'm just looking at like sort of Osmacic is the sort of start. He's started 2. He's got 2 goals. And he's going to be a real handful. I mean, I know obviously sort of like what Jacob Greaves can do when we had him. He's a solid defender, but when you've got a big player like that who's a real handful, they could struggle to sort of handle him this weekend. I do think they might get a goal. So I'm still going to go Ipswich win, but I'm going to go 2-1.
I find Ismail's interesting. He seems to do like almost nothing except score goals. If you're going to have one skill, make it score goals. That's how I've always thought. Exactly. We'll move on to another game that has implications at both ends of the table, ? I'm not sure. We'll move on to West Brom versus Pompey. Portsmouth, for those of you who prefer me to say the full name. Portsmouth, again, were impressive last season. Started this season sort of a mixed bag. Baggies started well under Ryan Mason. And at home, on paper, this looks like a Baggies win, but it's never quite that easy.
No, they've obviously one of the 3 teams with a perfect record so far, but they've been all right, obviously, to get them wins on board, but they've not really blown me away just yet. But I think we spoke about it at the start of the season where they've got some real excitement in their ranks, and if they can keep that squad together, I think they're going to struggle. They're going to trouble a lot of teams this season. I think coming back home again, Pompey are notoriously poor away from home. I know they got the result against Oxford, but as we've already alluded to, that's I think a lot of teams might do that to Oxford this season. West Brom, they've got goals all over the park. I think Brian Mason's got them playing some decent stuff. I think it's only going to get better and better if they keep that squad together. I've got a comfortable West Brom win this weekend. I've gone 3-1.
Yeah, I don't foresee Portsmouth going to the Hawthorns and winning. I just find that I can't foresee it. I can't imagine it. I think West Brom are going to be one of the tougher teams, as they always seem to be, but particularly this season. I just have a feeling that not many teams are going to be able to go at the Hawthorns this year and get a result. Portsmouth, I have been impressed with them so far this season. It's hard not to be. A good away win against Oxford and then a tough game against Norwich. There's no disgrace in losing to Norwich. And they have done some good business. I think they've signed some good players that look like are going to be good players for the now and the future. So I think they're in safe hands with John Mousinho, but I think Pompey fans knew that anyway. But I think this might be a bit of a test too much, a little bit too early this season. So I think West Brom will probably run out 2-3-0 winners in my mind. That might seem a bit harsh on Portsmouth, but again, I could see that easily being 0-0 or maybe 1-0 to West Brom at half time, and Portsmouth stay in the game till late and maybe overcommitting to try and chase an equaliser and West Brom can fit 3 in the end. But yeah, I think unfortunately it'll be fine this year. But I think this will be a bit too big of a test for them this weekend.
Yeah, as you both say, this is a very difficult game for Portsmouth, but they've been pretty solid going forward. I can see him getting a goal, or maybe even taking the lead and then forcing West Brom to come back. I kind of see West Brom winning 2-1, coming back. I really like the look of is it Segicic for Portsmouth? I think he looks like a lovely pickup from something from Australia, I believe, sort of out of nowhere. Looks like a lovely footballer. Really like the look of him. But yeah, I think this is a really tough game for Portsmouth. I think Baggies started well, probably one of the better teams, and at least one of the best 7 or 8 teams in the division.
Yeah, they've strengthened pretty well as well. Obviously brought Toby Collier in this week, who would have snatched from under our noses because we couldn't pay a bloody fee, but that's, he's a good signing for him.
And Christian Bielik from us as well. He's a very good footballer. Baggies will be fine. They'll probably edge this, I think. But I don't think it's going to be a simple task. I think Pompey are better than people think. We'll move on to another team who I think are probably better than their league position suggests. Sheffield United versus Millwall. This is a tough one. Sheffield United started badly, but I think they'll recover fine. Millwall also not really started how they would have hoped. I think it was a poor result last week, wasn't it? Yeah, they got battered by Borough. So both teams sort of not started exactly how they wanted, but we kind of expect them to be in the top half of the table eventually.
I think a lot of this comes down to what happens. Sheffield United's sort of reaction to their, let's put it bluntly, their start to the season has been a disaster, hasn't it? To come out and then do your team talk on the pitch at the end of the game, don't look good. To follow it up with another defeat, it just doesn't look good. And then Sellers, for me, he's one game away. I think you could well see, if it doesn't go Sheffield United's way this weekend, you could well see the first managerial casualty of the season. But Millwall, obviously, off the back of being absolutely trounced last week against Middlesbrough, someone's got to give in this game for me. I think both teams are you might see them both come out and go for it. But like I say, if Millwall get an early goal, that crowd at Bramall Lane is going to be horrible. And to get that off your back as a home team, it's going to be a real tough ask for Sheffield United this weekend. I think Millwall are going to come there, make it really, really difficult, try and get that early goal, try and get them fans on their backs. But I do think Sheffield United might get their first point of the season. I've gone for a draw here.
Yeah. I think even though we beat Millwall 3-0 last week, I think looking at that, you would think that we had absolutely battered them and played them off the park. But at half time, it was still 0-0. It was only 1-0 up until the 87th minute, and then we got 2 late goals in the 87th and 97th minute, I think. And especially in the first half, Millwall had quite a few chances to go in front and probably should have been 1 or 2 goals up maybe at half time. So I think the 3-0, I wouldn't say it flatters us because we were good value for it in the end. But I think it was quite harsh on Millwall, and it probably wasn't a 3-0 game, even though we were the better team in the second half. So I think they'll be taking a lot of confidence from that, even though it is a poor scoreline on paper. They should have definitely scored 1 or 2 goals against us. And I think if they play like that again, the way they did in the first half against us at Sheffield United, like Ollie said, you can just imagine if they get an early goal there, the boos are going to come out, the pressure's going to be on, and we've not seen Sheffield United like this in the Championship for a very, very long time. I can't foresee it happening for too much longer. I do think there is just too much quality in that team, whether it's the manager holding them back or whether it's the players' fault. That'll all become clear as the season goes on. But I do think there is just too much individual quality in that team for them not to show it, even if it's just individual moments of brilliance from some of their players. And I do think they might show that this weekend. I can see them potentially getting a win over Millwall that just calms the pressure a little bit, and calms the pressure on Sellers. He'll be desperate for it as well as at this moment in time. When we're talking about who the first manager is going to be sacked is, he's right up there as one of the favourites at this moment in time. But I do think a part of me just thinks that they will get it right this weekend and win 2-0 and ease a bit of pressure around there because it's building. If they don't, boy, is that going to be an interesting situation to watch in the next week or so after that game.
Yeah, pretty spot on with that. I think both teams are fine. I think Sheffield United are. I don't think they're going to be in serious trouble, but I also, the way they're playing so far, I don't think they're going to be in with a playoff shout either. I think that they'll probably end up somewhere in the middle between playoffs and relegation, which is obviously not where they wanted to be. But new manager, new season, it's all a bit weird, and I think they started so badly. They really could do with at least a point today, just to sort of, as you say, ease the pressure on Sellers. If they lose again, Sellers is in real trouble, and Sheffield United are. It's just not it's not a start you want, especially when you were looking at a team that finished in the playoffs last season. I think they'll get a point this weekend. I think this will be I think I can see it like a 2-2, like a real fun game. But we will find out if Sheffield United are truly doomed forever or if they're going to be fine. We'll move on. We've got 3 games left, which we've put down at the end for varying different reasons. We've got Coventry versus QPR. This one, as much as we liked the look of QPR pre-season, they've not been brilliant so far. Coventry looked like one of the best teams in the division. This looks like a slam dunk Coventry win for me. How about you?
Yeah, same. I just think the goals that they've got in that team, that QPR, and I don't think they're going to be any real match for them, really. I think, obviously, banging 5 goals in last week is, against any team in the Championship, is a tough act to do. And to go there and do that, and to be back on home soil this weekend, first time since they played us there, I think they'll be trying to prove a point here against QPR. I don't think QPR have got. They're not going to get anywhere near Coventry for me this weekend. I think that there's too much quality in that team. I think they might get a goal. But I just think 2 losses from 2 for QPR, leaking goals a little bit. Coventry is scoring for fun now. Obviously, after that first weekend where they didn't score any, but Coventry too strong for me this weekend. I think they'll win comfortably, 3-1, 3-0 maybe.
Just a quick point: QPR did draw on the opening weekend.
Sorry.
Yeah, I've been disappointed with QPR so far this season. Again, a bit similar to other situations in the league where they have got a new manager, and I think that has to be considered. He's coming from a different league, not managed in the Championship before. It probably is going to take time for QPR. They've made some good signings, and I do think they'll be better than where they're kind of 18th are in the league at this moment in time. I can see them being a mid-table team this season, but I do think it might take quite a few games for that to click and to see the best version of QPR. Coventry, CBS, really tough place to go for opposition sides. Lampard seems to know what he's doing there. I don't think they've had the greatest transfer window, not as many signings as they probably would have liked so far. I think they've still only made 3 signings, but crucially they've been able to keep hold of quite a few good players. And really tough place to go. The attack seems to be firing on all cylinders, so I can see that being a 2-0, 3-0 Coventry win.
Yeah, I was going to say pretty much the same thing. I can see it being a 2 or 3-0 win, though I've just realised in our predictions I did write 2-1. I think I was pretty sleep deprived at that time. I think this will be a 3-0 Cov win. Like, Cov just looked like possibly the team to beat so far this season. They kind of scare me. Simple as that. QPR will be probably mid-table-ish. Like, I've been a little bit disappointed by them. Cov will be in the top 4. Speaking of games that look like slam dunk home wins, Wrexham at home to Sheffield Wednesday. Anyone gonna dare say this isn't a Wrexham win?
No.
All right, moving on.
Simple as that. No. I mean, obviously, Wrexham's still without a win, aren't they? So it's they're going to want to prove a point, and I think this weekend they prove a point. I think they're coming up against Sheffield Wednesday side, who we spoke about before, complete disarray. They're just not getting any better for them. They've got injuries. They've got no real professionals in the squad. They're in a mess. They're in an absolute mess. What more do you say? Wrexham win for me this weekend. Comfortable 2-3-0.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough for Wednesday to go there and get anything. I think, like you say, that the squad is what it is. It's very threadbare. We all know what's going on there off the field. Feel really sorry for them, obviously, because they shouldn't be in this situation. It should have been addressed a long time ago, but this is where they are. But I think even though they got beat 3-0 last week against Stoke, you look at that Leicester performance and there was so much to like from that, and they will hopefully take a lot from that. Obviously they beat Bolton in the cup on penalties. So it hasn't been a total disaster for them in terms of all competitions. There have been positive moments on the pitch for them this season. But yeah, you would feel, again, similar to what we said about Charlton and all these teams down there, that if Wrexham are not going to stay up, but if they're going to be pushing as high on as people think they might be, and they have the financial capability to do so and the ambition to do so, if they're going to be fighting at the top ends of the Championship this season, then they're going to have to make that racecourse ground a fortress, as they have done. So I think, it's just very hard to see where the wins are going to come from a Sheffield Wednesday perspective at this moment in time. So I can see Wrexham beating them 2-0. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, Wrexham, their defence has really struggled against two of the best teams in the division, but I think a lot of teams are going to struggle to hold Southampton and West Brom this season, so I don't hold that too much against them. And their attack has actually looked pretty good in both of those games. I can see this being, 3-0, quite comfortable. And
I'm
because
just saying that Windass is out though, isn't he? Windass is out for 6 to 8 weeks.
Sheffield Wednesday have like 7 players. I just don't think it's going to matter. They signed Broadhead, didn't they? And he'll just slot straight in.
10 million.
I think this will be like a comfortable 3-0 win for Wrexham. I just think, again, we've gone over the Sheffield Wednesday thing, and it's a shame and all, but they ain't going to win this. We'll go straight on to the game that I declared has to be the last game just before we recorded, which is Swansea versus Watford. Swansea, I think, fine. Watford are what they are. They're better than I thought they were going to be. I had them really struggling this season. They're not as bad, I think, as I thought they were going to be. But we'll get a decent flavour of how good they are against Swansea. But I don't know what to think about either of these teams, and I'm not bothered by either of them.
Yeah.
Like either end of the table, I think.
You've summed it up really. It's like you can't. How much can you read into Swansea's result against Sheffield United at this time of the season? You can't really, because, like we said, we don't know what the hell's going on at Sheffield United. Watford started all right. I fancied them to get a win against QPR last week, and they did. But yeah, I mean, I think this game's last for a reason, isn't it? It's not one that we're going to look forward to. It's a Championship game. It's got Championship game written all over it. I do think Swansea will win though. I just think they'll have a little bit too much for Watford. But if it was the other way around, it wouldn't surprise me. I've gone for a 2-1 Swansea win. But like I say, if it was 2-1 Watford, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Yeah, James.
Yeah, I think Swansea are really strange. I think they've made some good signings, and they look like they've made some good signings this summer. But it hasn't really reflected on the pitch yet. So I do think they will be better again. Like a lot of these teams, I do think in time over this season, over the next few weeks, they will certainly be playing better football. But against us on the opening day, they just offered nothing in attack. Didn't feel like we were ever going to concede if we played, till next Saturday on that opening day against them, which surprised me, because I thought they were going to be very good going forward. Got some good attacking players, as we all know. So I do think they're not the kind of dark horse team that some sort of people are labeling. For me, I don't foresee them cracking the top 6 this year. I think they'll be in and around that mid-table 10th, 11th kind of place when it's all said and done. But I do feel like, again, as I feel like I've said this a lot of times this episode, but that place at Swansea is just such a tough place to go for these opposition teams that are travelling there. And I just can't see it being a high scoring. If we turn on the ITV Championship highlights this weekend and they're last on, no one's going to be surprised. So I think it'll be a 0-0 1-0 either way. But I'll go 0-0.
Interesting. I had it down as 2-2. I think because both teams are sort of, I'm not really worried about either of them. They're sort of both can play a bit looser. I think they're both, got something to prove. Maybe like should be kind of fun. I think like there's no reason for either of these teams to be boring because I don't think they're in relegation trouble. I don't think they're really challenging for promotion. You might as well put on a show. I've gone 2-2. That is the final game of the weekend. Obviously, games through most of the games are Saturday. I believe there's one on Fridays. That's right. Yeah, Derby County versus
that'd be
Bristol
Bristol City
Friday. So we'll see how the table shakes out on Sunday. We'll be back next week to cover another round of Championship games. Thank you both.
Thank you.